Okay, so there's a lot to this, but basically what you need to know right up front is that the Program Operations Manual System just released an update related to this entire situation, which is that DI 23020TN15 for priority cases. Summary update is that we, the SSA, renamed the section dire need and revised and consolidated the policies from critical case DI 23020.005 in the POMS and hardship situation DI 23020.030 POMS to align more closely with the dire need instructions found in the HALEX. We also archived the DI 23020.005. Now, with that said, to kind of put it into English as to what they're doing, they are beginning the process of actually consolidating essentially what you normally look for, what you normally see when it comes to essentially being able to get an expedited claim for Social Security disability benefits or other types of benefits where you're in a really, really tough situation. Now, with that said, I'm going to give you what the rule currently is. I'm going to give you kind of how they're scrunching it down, and then you could better understand essentially how to get an expedited, sped up, super duper fast decision, even though it's going to be very slow because they don't have enough employees right now at the SSA. But I'm going to walk you through essentially, how this process works, what it is. But first, let's talk about what prompted this whole situation. This is from the U.S. Government Accountability Office. Specifically, was an article produced, Social Security Disability. SSA expedited most critical cases at hearing level, but lacks consistent policy implementation. This was published back in June 16th of 2022, publicly released 2 days later on the 18th, okay? Here are the fast facts about it. Real quick, let's go through it. People who disagree with Social Security benefits decisions may appeal for a hearing with an administrative law judge. The Social Security Administration prioritizes some appeals as critical for medical and financial reasons, like having a terminal illness or dire financial need. SSA policy directs hearing offices to expedite a case flagged. They put a little tiny flag at the top of it as critical. It's like a little digital flag. It's like the shittiest little digital icon you've ever seen, but it's a little digital flag. But some claimants face unnecessary processing delays. For example, some offices require claimants to provide documents providing dire need financial situations or like an eviction notice, although SSA policy doesn't require such documents to expedite a case. Our recommendations address this and other issues. So what we're going to be talking is about how they're changing this rule to make sense more across the spectrum of the SSA, because some of these SSA groups, they'll call up the attorneys or they'll call up the claim and be like, well, I don't, how do we know this? How do we know what's going on with this? Where's your where's your soon to be evicted notice? Okay, where's your this? Where's your that? Whatever. So now they're starting to consolidate and basically try to make a better understanding among and across all the field offices and DDS reps and OHO hearing offices as to how to handle them. Now, this is what the GAO found. Let's go through it. The Social Security Administration, SSA, flags a disability appeal case as critical after determining that the claimant's health or financial condition, such as having a terminal illness or dire financial need, meets criteria in the SSA's policy manual. So just to show you guys what it kind of looks like, I think I even printed it out here from their system. I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to show this. I think I should. I can show this. This is a HALEX. Because sometimes I can't show stuff. But basically, the way it works is like, here's an example of what it would look like inside their system. Nothing too fancy, but basically, sometimes it'll have this critical dire needs. Sometimes you get like a little red flag or a little, yellow flag, stuff like that. But bottom line is they have different systems, pops up in different ways, different, yada yadas. But this is kind of what it looks like inside their system. Cool. Excellent. Okay. So with that said, cases can be flagged as critical before reaching a hearing office or during nearly any stage of the hearing process. SSA policy directs staff to expedite the case once it is flagged as critical. However, staff GAO interviewed from 3 of the 5 selected offices said that the claimants must provide documentation of their dire financial need, even though SSA policy does not require it. So what we're getting into is like, what evidence are you providing? Is that evidence valid? How does this evidence go forward? Who's processing it, how, and when you get into it, like, what actually serves as an eviction notice? Is it a notice from the landlord that they're going to evict them? Is it an official county eviction notice? Is it a letter from somebody that's saying that basically they don't have the money anymore? Or is it a bank account statement that shows that they don't have the money to pay next month's rent? Like, what is an eviction notice? Is it de facto just a county-based eviction notice, or is it like some other thing that's going on? Hearing offices consistently process critical cases faster than non-critical cases between fiscal year 2010 and 2020. But wait times vary depending on when the case was first flagged. Cases that arrived at a hearing office with a flag took a median 201 days to reach a hearing decision. Those first flagged while they were at the hearing office took a median of 351 days. This difference exists because hearing offices quickly begin work on flag cases. In contrast, non-critical cases took a median of 469 days. So the GAO found that across the stages of the hearing process, critical cases flagged after reaching a hearing office spent the largest portion of the wait time in the stage before being assigned to a caseworker. Most flagged during this waiting period. The hearing office staff assigned most cases to a caseworker within a week. So what we're talking about here is that, once flagged during the waiting period, if it like happened during it, they were like, oh, let me grab this. I'm going to assign it to the person there. Oh, got this. Let me assign it to the person there. But if it enters with flag, it's just they have a bit more wait time to them. Now, the median hearing wait times for the SSA critical cases by when the flag was added, fiscal years 2010 to 2020, they've got a little chart here. It's really cool. Cases flagged prior to reaching the hearing office. So basically, it took about 201 days. Cases flagged while at the hearing office. Oh, so this show it actually increases up to 351 days. So what they're saying here is if you had actually an earlier flag, it was faster. And then if you basically had a flagging while you were at the hearing office, it took significantly more, an additional 151 days. An additional 150 days. And then non-critical cases were around 469 days. Batty Beth, thank you for the $2 donation. That's awesome. Let me put a little heart on that. That's very, very cool. Very, very cool. So note, let's just go through some of the basic details here. SSA can initially designate a claimant's case to indicate that the claimant faces homelessness, eviction, or another critical need. At hearing offices, however, these designations do not trigger expedited processing unless the case is also flagged for one of the 7 hearing office critical case categories, such as dire need. The GAO found that only 28.5% of cases that had a homeless designation also had a critical case flag and thus were selected for expedited processing, despite SSA officials saying that most of these cases should qualify as dire need. So basically, there was a problem between the two systems, and the two systems weren't talking to each other in the way that they should. And so we got a HALEX versus a POMS issue, and the bottom line is, they're going more with what the HALEX is, more with what the hearing office level is when they consolidate this information. This discrepancy could result from the existence of similar categories that are treated differently across multiple data systems, manual error, or changing circumstances. As a result, some claimants who qualify for expedited claim processing due to severe circumstances may not receive it. So what they're saying is, when you would go with your flag from one area to the other, sometimes, if it were a homelessness situation, they would not go ahead and bring it over and transfer it over to the, ERE system that they use, with the OHO hearing office and have it actually expedite the claim. So some people would fall through the cracks, essentially, of getting an expedited claim if they were homeless, which sucks. That's bad. Why GAO did this study? Individuals who did not agree with an initial decision on a claim for Social Security disability benefits can appeal and eventually receive a hearing before an administrative law judge. SSA prioritizes certain disability appeals as critical for medical or financial reasons in order to resolve them more quickly. From fiscal years 2010 through 2020, the SSI identified about 425,000, that's right, 500,000 people with critical cases out of over 7 million appeals at the hearing level. So there's a lot of them. GAO was asked to review challenges that disability applicants who file appeals face. The GAO examined, 1, how SSA identifies critical cases at the hearing level, and 2, the extent to which the SSA expedites those actual cases. So basically, were they filed properly? Did they go in? Did they actually handle the administrative functions of getting the claim sped up? If it was sped up, how much was it sped up by? Yada, yada, yada. Cool. Okay. The GAO analyzed SSA hearing office case data from the fiscal years 2008 to 2020, focusing on critical cases that follow the typical processing order. GAO also reviewed SSA policies and procedures and interviewed agency headquarters officials, managers, and staff from 5 of the SSA's 164 hearing offices, disability advocates, and SSA employee unions as well. The GAO selected the 5 hearing offices to provide variety in the percentage of critical cases, overall case volume, location, and population size. So just to basically go through what's going on here is that this was the fundamental start as to why they were saying, okay, maybe we are having people who are who have a designation, are flagged for critical claim, expedited, homelessness, or DRND, dire need, and they're just not getting through fast like they're supposed to. Now, I want to go through basically some additional details here. The current POMS detail for the definition of critical cases are defined as the following: dire financial need, non-receipt or interruption of benefit checks that had caused a hardship, or an adverse public relations potential. Just to point out right there, like that is just to like, some people have always asked me, like, does the SSA care if we're going to end up in a news story? Does the SSA care if like this is going to become like a huge movement? Yes, the SSA literally wrote into their program operations manual system, if shit is going to hit the fan where this is going to make them look super duper bad, as part of the definition, it's DI 23020.005 critical cases, a definition, Part 1, subsection 3, critical cases are defined as Title II cases that involve Part 3, an adverse public relations potential. Critical cases, which are usually identified for the disability determination services by the field offices or the Office of Disability Operations, normally involve dire need or adverse public relations potential. So what they're saying is, crap, we've got people here who are potentially going to die, and that does not look good. Now, I want to tell you something else. I had 2 claimants within the past 2 weeks pass away waiting for Social Security disability benefits. They are going to see a massive increase from the 10,000 that normally die a year waiting for Social Security disability benefits to be approved to probably, I don't know, maybe 12,000, 13,000, etc. We don't know the exact number as to what's going to happen, but the bottom line is, at the end of the day, the unfortunate thing is that going forward, unfortunately, we don't know, but it's going to see an increase, and the amount of people waiting for disability benefits that pass away, it's just going to get worse. And the bad part about that too is that SSI applicants, when they pass away, that's it. Claims over, done, no more. They can't get their back paid to give, to their kid. They can't do any of that stuff. SSDI benefits, you can fight to get some of that to go to somebody else. Okay. Now, with that said, DDS will receive critical cases or notifications that cases already in the DDS have become critical, as indicated by the following. Number 1, Electronic Disability Collect System, that's the EDCS, cases from the FO flag for expedited processing, or EDCS exclusion cases with a form SSA 1671, request for expedited action, and they'll attach that. And then basically, here, I'll pull it up real quick and I'll kind of read to you what's on that form, that we have an understanding as to what their internal stuff actually looks like. So we're going to need the SSA 1671. Let's see if it pops up here. We're going to see if we can even access it, because sometimes some of these internal forms, we can't grab them. No, I'm not seeing it pop up. Hold on, let me try. I might be able to call somebody that I know there and grab it. Let me see if I can. Here's a learning thing that they did on training curriculum. Title II claim specialist, basic training curriculum. This is in 2018. Let me see if it's in here. I might be able to snark it from their training curriculum book. Hold on. SSA -1671 -U2. Let me see what we got here. Okay, so no, it's only mentioned. Well, it's mentioned multiple times in here, but I'm not seeing the actual PDF. Okay, anyways, point is, okay, so we can't grab the actual document, but the point is, they'll go ahead and use that to do a critical claim expedited transmittal. Notification by telephone can occur, fax, or other electronic means from the FO to the ODO to the regional office, or through direct contact with the claimant or a third party. What does DDS do? Their action. When DDS becomes aware of a critical case situation, complete all actions on the case as soon as possible and ensure the case is flagged as a critical case, expedite all case processing, file administrative messages and reports of contact in the case folder for EDCS exclusion, attach to the outside of the folder form SSA 1671. That's the one we were just talking about, and that is the request for expedited action. This form will serve as the transmittal slip. This provides a status report by telephone or administrative message to, so they also have to provide a status report by telephone or administrative message to the component that initiated the critical case process. When case processing is not completed in 3 weeks, generally, the DDS should supply the status report by telephone or other electronic means. The RO may issue additional guidelines regarding DDS responses based on local needs. Cool. So that's like how they do it. But I think this is important. Let's go over to here. We're going to skip Terry, terminal illness. We're going to skip VA, 100%ers. We're going to skip military casualty / wounded. We're going to skip the cows, compassionate listings. Here we go. So I'm going to read to you specifically what's from the critical claim I-2-1-40, subsection A5, as to how they define essentially or look for things of dire need for the DRND. So if you ever want to talk to an SSA rep and be like, cool, you'd be like, yeah, I've got a DRND, critical claim status situation. They'll know what that is. A dire need situation exists when a claimant alleges any of the following circumstances. The claimant is without food and is unable to obtain it. The claimant lacks medicine or medical care and is unable to obtain it, or access to necessary medical care is restricted because of a lack of resources. The claimant lacks shelter, e.g., without utilities such that their home is uninhabitable. Homelessness, expiration of a shelter stay, or imminent eviction or foreclosure with no means to remedy the situation or obtain shelter. Absent evidence to the contrary, except a person's allegations that the person does not have enough income or resources to meet an immediate threat to their health or safety. So let me read that to you again. Absent evidence to the contrary. So if they don't have any evidence that says that you're lying, so if they don't have any evidence that you own like a Mercedes or a BMW or a Rolls Royce, right? Except the DDS rep has to, or the field office rep has to accept a person's allegations that they are poor, that they are low income, that the person does not have enough income or resources to meet an immediate threat to their health or safety. And so basically, the HO employees will err on the side of designating the case critical. If a dire need situation becomes non-critical, the critical designation can be removed or modified. See section B2 below. Dire need cases are identified by the case characteristic DRND or CPMS or dire need flag in HACPS, and a critical case dire need flag in a paper case or an electronic case by the dire need situation flag in eView. It's like this little tiny flag. It's adorable. It's like the worst icon I've ever seen. A case identified by the FO or DDS as a homeless case in accordance with POMS DI 11005.004, or is a critical case because of dire financial need or because the non-receipt or interruption of benefits has caused a hardship in accordance with POMS DI 23020.005, must be designated as a dire need case at the hearing level unless the circumstances have changed sufficiently to no longer warrant such designation. So just to give you like an understanding, let's just go through these real quick so you understand exactly what they're looking for to expedite the claim. The claimant is without food and is unable to obtain it. They don't have a fridge. They don't have electricity. I mean, they might have a fridge, they might have some electricity, but they don't have they don't have what they need to actually have food, keep food, etc. They're not able to continuously get food. They have the money to buy food. Okay. Claimant lacks medicine or medical care and is unable to obtain it, or access to necessary medical care is restricted because of a lack of resources. So this one's all about distance, lack of transportation, lack of money to pay the $20 fee, for the sliding scale of not having any money to get medical treatment. So this is all about lack of ability to get to the medical facility, lack of ability to pay for medication, lack of ability to pay for the medical treatment. Claimant lacks shelter, e.g., without utilities such that their home is uninhabitable. Homelessness, expiration of a shelter stay, or imminent eviction or foreclosure with no means to remedy the situation or obtain shelter. So the problem that the SSA often runs into when they do the analysis of where's shelter on this thing, the claimant lacks shelter. So what they're looking for is basically a place that was not meant for overnight habitability. They're also looking for a place that, while it might have been meant for habitability, no longer has traditional resources. Different states require different things. There is a federal code across them all for what homelessness is defined as. But when you start having no water, no electricity, no this, no that, no whatever, then it starts to become an uninhabitable actual location. And so what they're going to be looking for is uninhabitable. They're going to be looking for your shelter stay is ending soon. And what a lot of people basically get from the shelters is their in and out date, or what the expectation date that they're going to be kicked out at that point and how that's going to affect them. The next thing is the imminent eviction, and then it becomes like, what is the imminent eviction evidence going to look like? Is that an actual county eviction letter? Is that an eviction letter from the owner? Is that an eviction letter from a manager? Is that an eviction, or is that basically a bank account that shows you don't have any further money to pay in the future for your rent? Like, what is enough proof of an imminent eviction? Okay. And that, with no means to remedy the situation or obtain shelter. So I think one of the problems with that statement is, or obtain shelter. Like, what the hell does that mean? Like, are we talking about basically a true shelter where it's like, a Samaritan Resource Center, or maybe it's like a coalition? Or are we talking about like, they can get in the box and therefore they're in shelter and therefore they're there? And see, that's the problem they run into with defining this stuff, is that if they go too hardcore with having, you to try to prove it, at the end of the day, it's just not going to work out, because homeless people are homeless people. I mean, a lot of people think of homeless people as like somebody who lives in the woods, but it's much, much more than that. It's people who live under bridges. It's people who live under the bridge in the compartments in the bridges where they go hang out. It's all that kinds of stuff. It's somebody who lives behind a dumpster in the city. It's somebody who lives on the waiting for the bus, actual seating area. It's somebody who walks around with a bunch of carts from the local grocery store with their stuff in it. There's people that sleep in their grocery carts, all kinds of stuff. Okay. So now, just a real quick thing over here, just to go through this final detail. I have over here what we use for our critical DRND case assessment. So what we have here is when what we look at is claimant is without and unable to obtain food, medicine, medical care, transportation and medical care, shelter stay, or the ability to have some sort of habitable area. The claimant's shelter is uninhabitable, homelessness, expiration of shelter stay, imminent no fixing, eviction/foreclosure. Are they under a bridge, under a tarp, in a tent, in the woods, in a cave, at a campsite, in the city, mobile, stationary? And then I have things that we basically attach as types of evidence. And sometimes we have them, sometimes we don't, but we still submit it. We've attached a certificate of homelessness on non-eligible for shelter service notice or its equivalent. So what you do is go to the homeless facility, you ask them for a notice that says you are in fact homeless. That'll speed up your claim. It's just a homeless certificate. That's a fancy way of saying a piece of paper that the homeless facility says, hey, you're here, you're homeless. Next thing, we've attached an eviction notice, foreclosure notice, utilities discontinued notice, or its equivalent. So there's all kinds of things that you could come up with that would equate to an eviction is coming likely in the future. So, something there. We've attached an image of the claimant's dwelling. And, remember, it's like some areas, you look at the dwelling is like a beat up RV in the middle of the woods in somebody's backyard where there's like an electrical cord running to it. And, part of the wall is like broken down. So one of those gigs. We've attached exorbitant medical surgery treatment costs, medication costs, and or loss of insurance notice, showing inability to have resources to get medical treatment as part of the gig too. The claimant's current address is at or around, and that's where we do like cross streets. It's at this street and this street in the woods, 50 feet to the left, And so that's the reality of dire need and what you need to know about the future of it. They're trying to fix it, which is good because they've been working on it since 2022, especially since that GAO report came out. But the future is going to be better, in my opinion, for those who are claiming dire need situations, which is really good because the economy is so crappy and food is so expensive that we are going to absolutely 100% need a better dire need, critical claim, statute, situation, POMS, HALEX definition going forward. That way nobody slips the cracks. I will catch you guys a little bit later. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm going to see you in about 15 to 20 minutes for the next video. And the next video, just so you know, is specifically about, I'm going to bring it up right here. The SSA is now in major trouble for violating this particular rule. We're going to go through which rule they violated and why it's not a good thing. Please remember to like, subscribe, and leave some reviews on Google. Go to Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida on Google. You just type it into the search bar. I will catch you guys a little bit later, and we will go from there, and I will see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you so much, and please be safe. It is a fun, exciting